All right, and welcome into the Junior and Senior Nothing But Sports podcast. We're taking this show on the road as we prepare to watch all of the Thursday night football games here for week one. We're going to pick probably about 6 to 7 games, just the games for Thursday night and Friday night. And then tomorrow, we're going to double back, and I don't know if we're going to do 2 more parts or just 1 more part, where we pick the Saturday games, the Sunday game, and then the Labor Day game, because those are just 1 game apiece on Sunday and Monday. So we're going to do the Thursday and Friday night games, and basically how we're going to do it is every regular pick we do, or we're just picking, it's 1 point. It's worth 1 point if you get it right. Any matchup, it'll probably be maybe 2 or 3 matchups every week that we deem as prime time type of matchups or game day type of matchups. Those games will be worth 2 points, and then you'll maybe get 1 or 2 picks a week that I consider to be upset picks. Now, you can use it on any team. At first I was going to do a spread, but it's a little too complicated, so brought that down to just any ranked team that's facing another opponent. You pick the other opponent over the ranked team. You can use that as one of your upset picks. Or any FCS school you pick to beat an FBS school, Division I school, will be considered an upset. So you can use 2 of those as part of your upset picks. And if you get those right, they'll be worth 3 points. So we got a 1, 2, and 3 point system. Just so it's not any confusion, if we both just pick about 5 upsets, again, you can only use 2 as upset picks. The other ones, if you pick them to be upsets, they'll just be worth 1 point. So you get to use your 2 wisely, because those 3 points are going to be huge, because we're going to pick a minimum of 20 games likely every week. So our record is going to be pretty probably into the 300s as far as how many games we pick by the end of the year. So we're going to go ahead and get started before I go on a little too long here. We're actually going to start with the biggest game likely of the Thursday and Friday window, and that's North Dakota State at Colorado. I'm going to let you go ahead and go first, Pop. And who do you think is going to win this game and why?
All right.
North Dakota State and Colorado.
It's gonna be. This one's tricky because this team, just South Dakota, knows how to beat schools far bigger than them. That seems to be their MO. That's been their history. Has some pretty good, / decent quarterbacks come through there. Carson Wentz, Trey Lance when he was playing in that level, obviously professional level not so much, but when he was there, made things happen. The list goes on and on. This is going to be, these kids come to fight for 4 quarters. They really don't get, this is one school I can say really don't care who they play or where the game is even being played at, which is the reason why they come up big and upsetting a lot of these schools to begin with. They just go out there and have fun. They're locked in. So they're going to give Coach Prime all that they can handle. This is going to be the very first storm, first of many that's coming Coach Prime's way. That it's going to be interesting to see if he could weather them all. But this particular storm, they're going to have to be locked in and focused for 4 quarters. Give a good chance to see this supposedly revamped offensive line. And I look for them to come out on top, maybe pull away a tad bit in the end, but it's going to be chippy. I just think things are going to be a little chippy to begin with. So I give Colorado the win. I'm not calling blowout by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to be a close one. But I give the Buffs the wins over the Bison.
And I've been, I really been going back and forth on this for the past couple months since I knew this game was happening. And they did a little nice thing, I guess, because this game was originally scheduled to be around 10 o'clock on Friday. So, and I wasn't the only one that seen it. I thought I was mistaken, but they definitely moved this game to Thursday night, which some people will say is going to take away the shine from what really was going to be the main event game on Thursday, is North Carolina and Minnesota, which we'll get to coming up next. So I get why they did it. You can get that Thursday primetime slot. It wouldn't have mattered to me, if they would have played it Friday night, because we'll be up watching all these games anyway. So I actually had North Dakota State a couple of times in my picks. And honestly, if anyone that's betting this game, the spread is 9.5. So I would stay away from this game from a betting perspective. 9.5 points, that's a scary line to bet with a North Dakota State team that has won 9 national championships in 11 years. They've been to 10 of the 11 championship games at the FCS level. They just don't lose, and when they do, you really have to be playing almost perfect football. They've won 6 of their last 7 matchups against FBS schools. The only team they lost to was, I believe, 2 years ago against Arizona, in a pretty bad Arizona team. So that was a weird loss for them. But
yes, it was.
Again, I think I want to see Colorado and Coach Prime do well, because a lot of haters out there, including the biggest haters, Paul Feinbaum out there, just constantly dragging this program and this man's name into the ground every single day. And, I get if you have a different opinion about him and about his team, because we all know the facts. We know what happened last year. But to continue to keep talking about all the other crap that happened that has nothing to do with football is just, you're kind of being hypocritical and contradictive of all your other statements. So I wish they would stop putting him on ESPN, to be quite honest with you. It's getting a little annoying because they keep saying the same things over and over again. And instead of talking about the actual game that's happening today, they're talking about crap that has nothing to do with the game. So I hope that everyone who came to support Colorado last year, whether that be on the sideline, in the stands, or on TV, or whatever the case, I hope they come back out this year and do the same thing. Don't just run away because they started out hot and then they kind of flamed out at the end. Support this team and support our people, as more of our people should be doing. We have to support this man and support this team. But I think this is a 27-24 type of game. I said in one of my previous podcasts, as long as this team, offensive line and defensive line wise, as long as they play marginally better than what they played last year, this team is almost a college football playoff team. And I had them right on that line when I made my college football playoff predictions. I had them right on that line. I did switch back to Utah when I made that redo podcast that I did. So I have them. I believe I have them in the championship game. I just don't have them maybe making the playoff. But they're going to win a close game. This game is going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of agony and pain because, if you're fans of Colorado like we are, it's going to be one of those games where penalties, especially on the offense and defensive perspective, could be a killer. They could kill either side. North Dakota State, we know what they like to do. Big guys up front on both sides of the ball. They will run the football, and their quarterback, Miller, will be running around and trying to make plays. And the question is going to be, Shiloh Sanders back there, is he healthy? Is he ready to go? And Travis Hunter, is he healthy and he's ready to go? Can these guys stay healthy all season? And to be honest with you, nobody really talked about it, but Travis Hunter, in a couple of earlier games, I did see him get cooked a couple times. Doesn't take away from the fact that he's great, but, there's people out here saying he could be the best cornerback in the country. I wouldn't I wouldn't go that far. I think you can give that to Will Johnson or Caleb Downs at Ohio State, one of those two guys. But he's definitely up there. But I need to see more tightened coverage as far as him being on the defensive side. And we know what he can do on the offensive side. Playmaker, excellent route runner, can be a deep threat. So I do like Colorado 27-24. Like I said, if you're trying to bet this game, 9.5 is really close. So I'd kind of stay away. But I expect this to be probably the game of the night and one of the better games of the weekend. And I just need people to understand, if they do win this game close, walk-off field goal or walk-off touchdown or whatever the case, don't come back the very next day and become, oh, they barely beat North Dakota State. No, everybody's been saying, including me, this North Dakota State team is not nobody to play with. It's not Presbyterian. They're playing one of the top 2 or 3 schools in the last decade at the FCS level. They have a lot of players who could be probably starting at Division I schools. So, again, if they win this game, let's not start all of a sudden going, well, they didn't beat anybody. But then if they lose, it's over.
It's pretty much over.
So we just need to relax. I think that a lot of people did this with Florida State last week, and then I came on the very next couple of days and I said, listen, relax. We've got a long season to go, a lot of tough opponents.
Hopefully these schools watched the game last week and it kind of gave them insight on what could be. And it enters their brain that, hey, this can happen to us guys.
And I'm sure Deion, likely played that game and tried to instill in his guys, listen, man, we saw what happened last year. We got to a certain point, and then we ran into an absolute buzzsaw in Oregon and just beat USC, the brakes off of
them. Yeah, the list went on and on after
so,
that. 6-game losing streak.
You don't want to avoid that here. You want to take it head on. Don't pretend like last year didn't exist, because it did.
Well, he's the perfect coach. He's played the professional professional level. The man's a Hall of Famer. He's got the mentality of it. He's got Warren Sapp as a member of the coach. It's certain elements to the staff that they're not gonna. I don't believe they're gonna let this. They're gonna keep it instilled in their head to finish. Because if anything was the reason why they lost a lot of those games and went on that 6-game losing streak, is not all of them. Besides Oregon and USC and a lot of those games wasn't all of that too far to where they couldn't finish. They just couldn't finish. So. I think they put a lot of emphasis in the offseason on finishing games.
And you also got to remember the fact that they were drumming Stanford at halftime, 29-0, and all of a sudden in the second half, this Io Manor kid turned into a first-round draft pick overnight because he just cooked that defense, and there was nothing they could do to stop him. There were plenty of games last year that they're 2 plays away from winning. And that's where Coach Prime has to show his fortitude and his coaching ability, because I will remind people again, as much as we love him, he took Jackson State to 2 back-to-back HBCU national championship games and lost both of them. The first one, they got the brakes beat off them. And the second one, they lost in overtime. And that's where we really discovered Hunter and Sanders and the boys. So I would just caution that.
Not to mention, they could have easily lost that overtime game to Colorado State as well.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of games. They could have lost TCU, Nebraska. It was a couple games they could have lost. So
finished, but
the point is, focus on this game, because again, a lot of people would say that their schedule last year was harder. I believe this schedule is harder just because we know what to expect in some of these teams. You got Nebraska next week. You got to go to Nebraska next week. 100,000 plus. They show up sold out for every game. It's a rivalry game. You saw what happened last year. They're going to be ready to play. Matt Rule's going to have those boys ready to play. And then you got Colorado State, which, if it was anything like it was last year, this game is going to be fun. And it's at Colorado State. So, again, this schedule is only going to get harder. You got to play teams like Utah again. The schedule is tough. But focus on this one game. Do not overlook this team. And really, when I say that, I'm talking to Shedeur and I'm talking to Hunter. I don't mind you guys, doing whatever it is you want to do off the field. You can say and do just about what you want. But you better get on the field and play as if they are nothing. Play as if they are, don't treat them like they're nothing, but play as if they are a high school football team. Do not take your foot off the gas and do what you're supposed to do. And because I'm pretty sure they probably have 2 or 3 guys on this North Dakota State roster that'll be, when draft time comes, they'll be selected, because that's what they do. They produce every now and then. They produce a couple draft picks, and not just a quarterback. So they better come in with their heads on, all the social media, cut everything out, and focus on the task at hand. I don't expect this game to be pretty. It's week 1. Unless you're playing a team like Mercer or something. If you're playing any type of high-level team, all these big matchups we're going to see, I believe that there's going to be some angst, some slow, trying to get into a rhythm with some of these transfer guys that are coming in to these programs. So just relax. But at the end of the day, all you want is a win. I don't care how you get it. Just get a win, get to 1-0, and then you focus on next week. So we both have Colorado. The next game we're going to do, trying to get to a good point. Let's go to Friday night's game. TCU at Stanford. Really interesting the way these two teams have moved around conferences the last decade and a half. But they're pretty down right now. But who do you think wins this game Friday night at the Farm?
Friday night at the Farm.
What'd you say? TCU and Stanford.
I got to go with TCU only because something about the Horned Frogs. I think clearly they still have a slight Georgia blowout hangover in that national championship game that I didn't even fully watch. After a couple possessions, I was done. That and they lost a couple people. They're kind of in a revamp situation. But that started last year. They got surprisingly stunned at home against Coach Prime week 1. So they can't be any worse than what they were last year. I think this is their slowly bounce back season. And I believe it starts against Stanford. Is that kid that Colorado couldn't stop in the second half coming back?
He's still there. I know, because on College Football 25, I'm using Tulane, and I actually, my first year, I played my first year, and then after the first year was over, I actually was able to get him out of the transfer portal. So he's now on my team in my second year with Tulane. And, he's every bit as good as he is in real life on the game. So
definitely have to show me how to use that transfer portal thing. But okay,
yeah, I was able to get him. So
he's gonna have he's gonna have to be the focal point. Now, I'm picking TCU, but I got to tell you, if that kid can't be stopped, if he picks up where he left off, the last person I saw move like that for that team was Christian McCaffrey. And last I checked, he couldn't be stopped when he was at Stanford. They just didn't have an overall good team. It was really him or bust. Quarterback-wise, I haven't seen anything special come out of that university since Andrew Luck. Stanford is just is such a coin toss when it comes to me, because they're let down year after year after year, and their MO is not exactly like Georgia Tech, but something similar. They love to play smash mouth, run the football. They're not a chuck the rock, spread you out offense. They love to run the football, and rightfully so. Look at the two guys, the kid that they have to focus on stopping in that backfield. and Christian McCaffrey. They breed some running backs coming out of their university, that I will say. That lets you know that their MO, their identity is run the rock. I believe TCU is going to stack some extra guys in the box. They're gonna focus, solely on not shutting him down, because I don't think he can be shut down. But they're gonna try and slow him down, and they're gonna force Stanford to dive a little deeper into the passing game, and I think that's where they fall short at. And I give TCU the edge over Stanford.
Okay. Now, this is where we're going to have our first disagreement, and we might have another based on the matchups that we have left to pick. We'll probably have one more. But I'm going to go with Stanford here at home. Stanford is known as an academic school. This game, this crowd will probably be as dead as a doornail. It'll probably be half filled, because they really, like I said, they focus more on academics and other things. So
of course
it will be a dry crowd. Now, with that being said, we talked about Io Manor. We didn't talk about the quarterback. I don't want to get his first name wrong. I think it's Ashton, but Ashton Daniels. There's so many Jalen, and Daniels quarterbacks the last couple of years. We're going to get to a couple of them, but they're everywhere. But Ashton Daniels, hope I'm saying his first name right. That game really showed me something. Now, the team wasn't good last year. Stanford hasn't been good in a very long time. But there was a time where they were a perennial top 5, close to making a championship, close to making a playoff type of team. But they could just never get over the hump. So you get Daniels, you get Io Manor, and you get Emmitt Smith's son. I believe his name is E.J. Smith. So you have a pretty nice stable here. The question is their defense going to be good enough? Their defense hasn't been the same since, again, you had a guy like Jim Harbaugh, and then even, I forget his name, the guy who came after him. They really just haven't been the same, because they used to be a really tough defense, run the ball team. But you have a superstar in Io Manor. You have a potential superstar in E.J. Smith. And you have a guy in Daniels who, if he can get maybe 1 or 2 more pieces and they can develop a better offense for him to run behind, this could be a surprise team. Now, they're in the ACC, so I don't expect them to, win 10 games. Could they make a bowl game? Sure. I think they could. There's a couple of ACC teams that I could see them beating at home. Get 2 or 3 wins, make a bowl game or something like that. TCU, again, they haven't been the same since that championship loss. They lost Max Duggan. They lost Johnson, the wide receiver. They lost Keandre Miller. Defensively, they lost, who else they lost? Darius Davis. I could just keep going. That's just the offensive side. The defensive side, they lost Tomlinson. They just lost a bunch of guys. And, again, when you get a lightning in a bottle type of team that they had, and you lose a bunch of talent like that, you can't just regroup. They're not a Georgia or an Alabama or an LSU or a Texas or Ohio State, Michigan type of team where they can just keep reproducing. They caught lightning in a bottle, and they were, again, a game away from winning a championship. Sonny Dykes, again, he's going to have to, again, he got his team to a national championship, so he should be good there for, years to come. But they have to, in this new Big 12, any team can win the Big 12. I've said that multiple times. Any team can win this Big 12. They could be one of those teams. They could surprise me, because I didn't see them coming when they got to the national championship. I did not see TCU coming. I don't think anybody saw them coming. And that's the beauty of college football, is you just never really know. But I don't think they have enough at quarterback or on the defensive position that can get them very far this season. But again, I didn't see it when they got there, and they got there. So especially with this expanded playoff, a team like TCU, they're going to have a lot of good teams on their schedule. So they feel like if they could get a win against, a Power 5 team on the road, they can start out hot. But I just think Stanford at home, 2 teams that, like I said, the last year or so haven't been very good. I'm always, for the most part, going to go with the home team when I think the teams are even. So I have Stanford winning. I don't remember what the line is, but I'm pretty sure it's not big. So I'll take Stanford. The next game we're going to do is, I'm trying to remember this all off the top of my head. So I want to make sure let's do North Carolina and Minnesota. Well, no, we'll do that one last. Let's do Temple at Oklahoma. I don't think either of us are going to pick Temple to win this game, but
you're damn right about that.
Just so we have it square.
The game is in Norman, Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Yes.
They don't have a shot.
I really just wanted to bring this game up. We both officially have Oklahoma, obviously, but the quarterback for Temple is, again, I don't want to get his first name wrong. I'm not good with first names, but I believe his name is E.J. Warner, the son of Kurt Warner. He was there last year. Temple has been terrible the last couple of years. They haven't been the same since Matt Rule was there. That's really the only reason I wanted to bring that up, is just to put some shine on him, Kurt Warner's son. And I hope he has a good season this year. But Temple, again, hasn't been very good in a very long time. So I think Oklahoma's going to win. I think the spread's like 50 points. So if you're going to bet this game, I would take Temple with the points. You're going to give Temple a 50-0 lead or something like that. I'll take that.
Big time.
Because to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure about Oklahoma. They're ranked 16. I get it, the prestige.
I'm sure enough about them to beat Temple. That's for sure.
They'll win.
When they get deep into their schedule and start like the SEC teams of the world, then that's a whole different story.
It's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, I don't think they're going to cover 50 points. It's going to be interesting to see how this game goes. Do they start off slow? Because in a couple weeks, I don't remember if it's week 2 or 3, they got Tulane coming in there. And again, I have Tulane making it to the playoff as the Group of 5 representative. I don't think people are talking enough about them. I think we just forget that they've had 2 double-digit win seasons the last 2 years. They've made it to the American Championship at home 2 years in a row. They have an American Championship under their belt. I get we lost Willie Fritz. I understand. But we also have the coach from Troy, and he had Troy in the Sun Belt Championship every other year. And he had them, as a really good 9 to 10 win program every year. So I don't understand I get it, but just the complete drop off to go with a Memphis or Boise State or UTSA or whatever. Don't forget about Tulane. That's really all I'm saying. You got Ty Thompson coming in, a transfer quarterback, and you have Mario Williams, a transfer from, I believe, Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be an interesting game. But, yeah, so Jackson Arnold's the quarterback for Oklahoma. I saw him play against Arizona in the Alamo Bowl last year at the end of the season. So, and he looked pretty good. So we'll see. But we know Brent Venables is a defensive coach. That defense looked okay last year. It was better than Lincoln Riley's defense were looking. And Danny Stutzman, the little linebacker, he is a great player. And I expect him to take another step this year. So, yeah, Oklahoma's going to win. But I want to see how long Temple fights in the game. And what they can do to kind of keep themselves in it for a little bit. And maybe, we could be looking down at the scoreboard while we're watching another game and see.
Well, if they happen to decide
14
to
to 10
out
or something,
that they actually can play with Oklahoma, I think that'll be a confidence booster to keep them in the game. They just have to stay focused and try hard not to lose it. We all learned that from the Georgia Tech Florida State game. The key thing I said was, once they realize that they can play with them on this field, all they got to do is keep fighting, because they got to play full quarters. And we already know how that turned out. Right. Now, Temple is obviously not Georgia Tech. But, again, this is why, like you say, and my grandfather, my father, this is why you get on the field and play the game. It's about putting a hat on a hat. These are one of those sneaky games where what you thought you knew, we end up watching, and we're ooh and ah and uh-oh, here we go, and yada yada. And but again, on paper, the Sooners should handle up on their business. I don't look for them to drop nowhere near 50, but they should pull away fairly decently against a Temple team, like you say, that hasn't been good for a very long time.
Right.
but we'll see. Because one thing about college football, I can't keep putting enough emphasis on this. You're as good as the players that comes back to your program the following season. Okay, that entire offensive line, I got to keep going back to Georgia Tech. That entire offensive line came back from last year. I looked it up. I started to slowly realize why these people dropped 327 yards on the ground. Look, these kids come back. Again, transfer portal this, transfer portal that. Still got to get acclimated to the new program that you're playing for. Some players' learning curves is shorter than others, but we don't know what kind of situation, what kind of off-season situation Temple has dealt with. What we do know is that they don't hardly lose anybody to the National Football League unless you're that real one standout player. And they're just not known for that. So, I have to go back and check to see who all came back. The majority of this squad came back. And they realized at any point at the beginning of this game that they can play on a football field with the Sooners. Then it's all about, from now on, it's all about moving forward. It's all about whether or not they're going to continue fighting for 4 quarters and finish.
Right.
Because Oklahoma is a shell of themselves. They're not the big powerhouse dominating Oklahoma Sooners that they used to be. And again, because they also lost some players. They lost some players to the National Football League. So this is just, don't get me wrong. Of course, we're picking Oklahoma.
Yeah, we're picking Oklahoma. It's not even going. Again, it shouldn't be close.
It shouldn't be close.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it is because it's early.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it is close early, I'm gonna start questioning how close Temple's gonna keep it. Because if they keep it close in there anywhere past halftime, just like last week's game, the second half should be fine. Unfortunately,
it won't
like
be.
I said.
But it'd be intriguing if it is. At least 3 quarters. Come on, Temple. Give us 3 quarters, 14 to 10, 21 to 17 or something.
Give me a close game.
They'll run away with it
into
eventually.
The third quarter at least
Yeah.
that. And then, okay, maybe 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma starts to pick it up. A little turnover here, yada, yada.
I presume
and that margin gets bigger.
We're wishful thinking because Temple just, again,
man, college football
hasn't been. They just haven't been very good. But anyway, let's get to this last game. We're only gonna do 4. Like I said, tomorrow we're gonna be more expansive. We're gonna pick a whole 16 more games at least, and a lot of those I suspect we're gonna agree on because most of those games are gonna be overwhelmingly FBS teams going up against really good FCS teams. But we'll pick the bigger games as well. This last one we'll do is North Carolina at Minnesota. Who do you got winning that game in this beautiful non-conference matchup?
Between Minnesota and North Carolina?
And Minnesota is at home. I believe they played each other last year in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. So
I'm going to have a little fun with this one. I'm going with Minnesota to pull off a fairly close upset against the North Carolina Tar Heels. I think Minnesota's. I think it's going to be a ruckus crowd out there. I think the juices are going to be flowing for the Golden Gophers. And I know this. They have a team that can keep it close past 3 quarters of football. North Carolina's. They've seen some greener pastures. They've seen some fun times, and they too have been a bit of a letdown, given the talent that they didn't have. Still slightly have, to be honest with you. But I'm sorry. I gotta have at least one upset pick out of the group of picks that we're gonna be making, and that's my upset pick. I picked the Golden Gophers to get the go-ahead. Surprise! We're here. Victory against the North Carolina Tar Heels.
All right, so you're cashing in your one of your two upset picks. I mean, hey, I think you kind of missed the boat as far as upsets go, but
Hey.
I'll let you.
This is college football.
I'll allow this one because this is. I don't see that as. I mean, at home, I don't see, these two teams are fairly even to me. I mean,
Yeah, but given the pedigree of North Carolina, given what they've
lost that. They've to me, and I just want to get this out the way. I've got Minnesota winning as well because I'm just honestly disappointed in Mac Brown's time here at North Carolina. He's had a lot of talent, some really good quarterbacks, and he has not been able to get anywhere past one ACC championship game, or I believe 2 ACC championship games. So I've been thoroughly disappointed, and they've got a guy supposedly as a backup who they think could be very good in Colin Harrell, but I just don't know if this North Carolina team, number one, if they can play defense, and number two, can they go on the road and get a quality win? Because if they do, this would be a very good quality win to go on the road and beat a Big Ten Minnesota team on a Thursday night, which is Minnesota loves playing Thursday night games. So to open the season. So if you're North Carolina right now and you're Mac Brown, you better do something because I know he's probably grandfathered in at this point, but it's going to be an uphill battle for Mac Brown in North Carolina. But I like Minnesota to win at home in a really good. I think this will be a good game as well. But we'll see what happens, and I hope I'm wrong about North Carolina because I like North Carolina.
No,
I hate him as a basketball school.
I like him too. Hate him as a basketball school.
I love Mac Brown.
I've always wanted their football program to succeed, and that's another thing. I think I like their football program because I like Mac Brown.
All right.
He's the man's a seasoned coach. He's been there. He's been in national championships. He knows what it takes. He's an old school ball coach. And I really do. I honestly root for him. I just think this is the game that Minnesota slightly takes. I think North Carolina has a tough time finishing.
All right, folks. That's going to be it for this quick Week 1 picks podcast. We did 4 games. We will, like I said, tomorrow be way more expansive and pick way more games. We pretty much agreed on 3 of the 4. So hopefully we'll start out pretty good. I believe 2 of these games are coming up tonight, 2 of them tomorrow night. So we'll see if we can start out hot here. But that's all for today. We will talk with you guys tomorrow. And that's it for the Junior and Senior Nothing But Sports podcast.